was 21 years old, I think. 21 years old. So then I came to Colombia and I started to work at a school as an English teacher. But of course, I saw the poverty in Colombia and I was really, really impressed by that. And I started to question like the capitalist system. I started to question everything around me. And I thought I would like to do something about it.
But you didn't have to do that with violence. I mean, there's a lot of people with a social conscience in the world, but they don't use violence to resolve it. Why did you, a person from a European democracy, decide that violence was the answer?
I didn't choose to use violence. I chose to do politics in a country where doing politics implies violence. I wasn't able to keep on living in Holland and have a good life and have my job, thinking about other people in other places of the world who are living a miserable life.
But you could have worked for a charity.
I could have done that, but I already received my political education in Colombia. I agreed with the guerrilla, and that's why I joined the guerrilla. I mean, probably if I had gone to Africa to do my practice for university, I would have ended up in something else.
Have you been involved directly in violence?
I think a lot of media are very interested, like, in my personal participation in violence or those kind of things. I mean, we are an art movement, and I think with that I respond to your question.
All this violence, these years of conflict have created millions of people displaced, tens of thousands of people killed, kidnapped, extortion. I can't quite square that with the idea of a better society.
Because the media and the Colombian government always want to show us as like the authors of all the misery in Colombia, the victimizers of the conflict, the ones who do attacks against the population, for example. We would never attack the population.
But the FARC has kidnapped civilians, has kidnapped people who've got nothing to do with the conflict.
I think you should like reformulate that question, because we never talk about kidnapping. Kidnapping is a practice which you kidnap somebody for personal benefits. We don't do that. We always talk about financial, economical retentions.
It's the same thing at the end. The person's deprived of their freedom.
For you, it's the same thing, but it's not for personal benefits. We don't do that anymore, so that's not in question anymore.
You've been indicted in an American court. You've been indicted in a Colombian court for terrorism charges. You could face 60 years in jail. Are these talks your way out, your way to find another future? Because otherwise it looks like the FARC or prison.
I don't ever think about it, about the American court or whatever. And I don't think like the combatants of the FARC, who are victims of the violence of the state, should be judged as the victimizers of this conflict.
You don't think that Colombian society will demand some kind of justice?
I think the people of Colombia and the people of all the world know who are their victimizers.
Well, in the EU, the FARC is listed as a terrorist organization.
I thought I came to an interview, not to a trial.
Do you have any regrets about the violence, the victims in particular of this conflict?
I don't have any regrets about having joined the FARC. I feel realized, I feel like I am showing my solidarity with people who have been very, very maltreated by the Colombian government, and I feel very proud of it.
But do you think about those who suffer as a consequence, the victims of that struggle that you believe in, but maybe other people don't?
I think we've already talked about it. It's like a logical consequence of a war, which have been enduring for over more than 48 years, that they are victims of a war. And that's why we're talking about peace now.
If these talks bring peace to Colombia, what will you do?
We would just continue like a political movement and like, because, I mean, we are a communist party raised in arms, but we are a communist party. So then we could really start to fight for our ideas, but without rifles.